Hi everyone, this is Queen Cleopatra and this is my second video of South Africa, the way forward. So I just made my first video, you can check that one out, where I talk about, the way forward, the way of peace, and I talk about President Nelson Mandela, the type of leader that he was. As President Nelson Mandela was the most incredible president in South Africa, I feel, because he had wisdom and he followed God's guidance. Because why else would he, after he was locked up for 28 years in Robben Island, he came out and he forgave his enemies and he promoted peace. This is why Jesus says in the Bible, forgive your enemies. And to make it personal, I've been living in Sokop like for the past 2 years, 4 years, and I have been every day, I have been acted racist against by the Afrikaners that live here. They have tried to steal my house. They are still trying that because last time when my mother died, she left me the house. I have had to get a lawyer. I have had to fight every day with these people because they come every day with corruption to come and take what belongs to me. So I could have started war a long time ago. And not just that, even before that, you could feel the racism. You could feel that and being attacked like that every day. I worked at this other, it was like an old age home I worked at. And I know there was this one nurse, and I did not at that time, I did not experience racism yet because I did really grow up in apartheid. We knew about that, and my parents talked about it, but I never experienced it. That was the first time I really experienced it because the way she treated us, and she came out of South Africa, she was very racist. She was very racist. In the beginning, we understand each other, but later on, when I started to see, she started her things against me. But I'm going to give you an example. One day, she put me on forced leave. Imagine, I'm standing there, she shows me, she writes it in the book that I am on leave and I'm watching her. And I'm asking her, are you putting me on forced leave? And she's telling me, yeah, you must talk to me, you must talk to the MD. And the MD was this other German lady who could not even speak English. So I knew it was just her because she always did stuff like that. And then later I had to bring the labor there and all these things. But they do stuff like this all the time, even with my house issue. They bring fraudulent papers. They do things that you would not believe, that you could get very angry, if with this treatment that they are doing against me, trying to steal what belongs to me, and they do this in Sokop all the time. The government doesn't give a crap. I could have made war a long time ago because I got so angry and because I could see that. And imagine this is, I do not worry with them. I do not worry with them. I'm somebody that doesn't worry with other people, but they make it their business to fight you in this underhanded way, and also to make you feel like you are less than. Every day for 4 years, I had to go through that. Now, the most reason, I know there was one video I made where I talked, very badly, and I was very angry. But later on, God came to me, and God told me, Connie, I did not give you that personality because I'm a very peace-loving person. I'm not somebody that will just fight you unless you try me. And he told me he wanted me to promote peace because one day I was sitting at a park here at Plaza Meer, and there was a white guy with his baby, and he was Afrikaner guy. And that time I was already up to here for Afrikaner people. I was so over it. I was just going to do something. And if I put my mind on something, I get it right. There's nothing I can't do in this life because I've got that personality. And I looked at him and he was very friendly. And he had this little baby. And I know the baby wanted a toy because this black lady, she had a toy. And he wanted the toy. And he was crying. And I felt really bad because it's a baby. But then God was trying to tell me, you see, that baby is like any other baby. Just because he happens to be from a race group you do not like or not, it's not that I don't like all of them, I don't like the ones that are racist. So that made me think. And then I realized how, it's how the devil works. He will always bring division. It's how he works. That is the first thing that he does. He brings division and then he attacks. Now, if you think about it nicely in South Africa is a very wealthy country, with minerals and that type of stuff. And South Africa is also a beacon in Africa. We all of us used to look to South Africa because of President Nelson Mandela, because of Brenda Fassie, your Weekend Special and all that, because of Lucky Dube, because of who else is there? You know, all the stars that we looked up to, they come from there. We also have our own Namibian stars. I'm not saying we don't have, because I know I'm going to get questions for that. But I'm talking about South Africa. So they have, you know, really impacted us. But look at what's going on now. It's chaos. And we are all, you know, wondering what the hell's going on. But what I'm trying to say is, so let us look. You know, my thing is, I always used to try to find sense in chaos. Then I become calm. This is my process. I become calm. I step back out of the situation and look at it from a new perspective. So please, these xenophobic leaders, you are not leaders. Let me teach you how to be a leader. If you stand back and look at what you've created, are you happy? Because this is escalating. And what really bothers me is that they are now wanting to attack, I don't know, women and children of the other group. Or not children, but the women. But it will end up with the children. You know, the Afrikaner group. I am not all for the Afrikaners. I don't like their racism and I want to speak to them as well. Your attitude of racism, because I live with that, I see it, has brought this about. To tell you the truth. I'm not talking about the xenophobic attacks against the African, that is something else. I'm talking about the hate against you. You have to stop with your racism against black people. Because I go through that. I know how you do it and I know what it's for. And I'm not talking about all the Afrikaners. If you are not racist, I'm not talking to you. I also have Afrikaners who are not racist towards. But I have those who explicitly, the moment they see you, they get this look, you know, and they just look at you and then they go, it's quite weird to say. You know, it's like, I've done nothing to you. What you going on about? Because you stand at the gate, you know what they do, what I was saying, they will not open up the gate for you. But because I'm very, you know, friendly and very nice, I will open up the gate for them, but they will never open up the gate for you if you don't have your remote or whatever. But what I'm trying to say is, let us choose the way of peace. So, you know, I'm drifting off now. I have a few points that Nelson Mandela did. This was his plan of peace when he came out of Robben Island, the prison where he was. You know, he did not choose, sorry, he did not choose, what is it? He did not choose hate. He chose peace and, yes, he tried to understand, you know what he actually did when he was in Robben Island? That he said he tried to understand the Afrikaans cards. And later on, I'm sure it was also God's guidance. He realized that they were just people like him. They also had their own problems and they were also victims of the system. They were brainwashed to be like that. You see? He started to study them so he could understand them. He was not nasty to them. And yeah, you know, they had their own problems. You know, he at many points he also started, you know, because, you know, we're friends with them, you know, they did not argue with him. He started to actually train himself, you know, in politics and things like that. He was using his time in a good way. He was teaching others as well. He was actually building his movement within that prison. So even though they had imprisoned him, because he was nice to them, you know, he did not say they were bad to him or whatever, but I'm sure that some of them, because if you're nice to somebody who's bad to you, later on they will become your friend. You know, I also use that. He started to learn from them, and then he could see the weaknesses. He understood who they were. He understood the way they lived, where those notions and things of them come from, and then he could link it to, what he wanted to do. And he started to train himself, he started to train others, he started to teach the others in the jail, you know, about politics, the ones that did not know, because he could see the market there then. He started to train them about politics. He started to build his army there because they did not see. Now, when he came out, he knew if he made war, and yeah, he basically made his cell his puppet, you know. He built himself in the cell. He did not see the cell as um, a bad experience. He knew it was bad, but he learned from it, and I've got my own experiences like that. I was also in situations where I could not come out of, like the marriage that I was in. It was not a good marriage, but I learned from that, and I could not get out of it at so easily. But I learned from that, and also other situations where I maybe uh, was on the street or something like that. I learned from that, and that made me who I am. But what I learned in my entire life, just like Nelson Mandela, is you have to plan and you have to strategize. But in this instance, you have to look at where you're at, because what these xenophobic leaders are doing now, you are disabling the country, because you are not teaching the people to be responsible. You are teaching them to be vandalizers. They are vandalizing their own system. And this is what the colonizers know. You are not teaching them to uplift themselves. You are teaching them to destroy what they have built. Who will rebuild it? You are teaching, giving them a weak mind. You think you are that is strength. That is not strength, that is weakness. A person who is strong. I learned something from my mother. My mother was somebody who, even if you argue with her, she will not answer you. She had this calmness. She would just sit and look at you. And then she would just say, let's pray. She would never argue with you. Or she would just ignore you. And I always wondered why she did that. But later on I learned it's because there is strength in stillness, there's strength in calmness, there is strength in not doing what you are expected to do. And what you are doing now, you leaders of xenophobia, you have exactly done what that system wanted you to do. Because if you guys imagine the scenario, you are fighting your own brother. Who are you strengthening? You are strengthening the other party because they are standing and watching. It's like if two people are fighting, I'm standing and watching who is the stronger one. Maybe I created the fight. I'm the stronger one because they are doing exactly what I want, and now I can go into the house and steal. They're outside the house, there's a diamond in the house. While they're fighting, what am I going to do? I'm going to go into the house and I'm going to take the diamond. So be smart. This is the colonizers. I don't know, maybe you've paid off. This is the colonizers getting you to do their dirty work. Because while the Africans are fighting each other, Africa is now not united. They come in. And now they can bring sanctions against you. They can isolate South Africa. They can do whatever they want in South Africa because South Africa is not strong. There is no strength there. The strength comes from your mind. It does not come from fighting and beating up people. Do you know how that looks? Even that video I saw of how that looked when they beat this one guy. A black guy beating another one like that. It looks weak. It doesn't look strong. I was actually embarrassed for you. It looks weak. And going to people's houses, taking their papers while it's families and stuff like that. You are all African. You're supposed to help your brother.